Here we'll talk about percentile. So what is percentile? Percentile is how one item in a dataset compares to the rest of the dataset. Let's say there are 10 apples. As we can see, the smallest is to the left and the biggest is to the right. And you see that the circled apple here, we call it appy. It is the third biggest apple, meaning that 70% of the remaining apples are smaller than appy. So that means that appy is at the 70th percentile. Now let's go over some terminologies. Let's consider this rectangular box with 4 equal pieces, which means that each piece is 25% of the entire rectangular box. So that is 100 in total, divided by 4. We have the first quartile as Q1, which is the 25th percentile, and Q2 is the median, which is halfway through, so 50th percentile. And finally, Q3, which is the third quartile, or known as the 75th percentile. The final component, index number. There's this equation where I is the index number, N is the total amount of items, and P is the percentile. The index number tells us the position in the data set. Now let's look at the 4 steps approach to finding percentile. First, we rank the data from smallest to greatest. Second, we find the index number. Third, there are 2 outcomes for the index number, a decimal or a whole number. If it is a decimal, we always round up. If it is a whole number, then we leave it as it is, meaning that we don't do anything. And finally, we look for the position in the data set. So if it is a decimal, if the index is the decimal, then we look for the exact position in the data set. If the index is the whole number, then we look for the exact position and add the next position and divide by 2 in the data set. Let's do an example. In this data set, we need to find 10th, 40th, and 90th percentile. So first, we rank the data from the smallest to the greatest. Second, we find the index number, and we can write down the equation first. So we need to do it 3 times because we need to find the 10th, 40th, and 90th percentile. We know that there are 15 items in a data set, so N would be 15. And for the P, it will be the respective percentile, so 10, 40, and 90. We pop it into the calculator, we get 1.5, 6, and 13.5. For both the 10th percentile and the 90th percentile, we got 1.5 and 13.5, which they are a decimal. So we need to round up to a 2 and 14. As a remark, let's say if I is 3.2, we also round it up to 4. But this is not part of the question. I'm just saying that if the decimal is 3.2, we do not round down. Instead, we still round up. So that's what we say, we always round up. And if the index is a whole number, we leave it as it is. Finally, if the index is a decimal, which is the 10th and the 90th, we go to the exact position. So I is 2, meaning that index is at the 2nd position. And then the 14th position for 90th percentile, and that will be 904. If the index is a whole number, then we go to the exact position, position 6, 522, add the next position, 627, and divide by 2. So that would be 574.5 items. In conclusion, we can consolidate everything and put it in the right upper corner.